There's a fine line between a rough patch and a toxic relationship. And too often, we cross that line without even realizing it. You make excuses. You tell yourself, they're just having a bad day. You convince yourself it's your fault. You cling to memories of the good times, hoping they'll return. But deep down, something feels off. Your peace is gone. You're always walking on eggshells. And the worst part, you can't even talk about it. Because if you do, you're labeled dramatic, clingy, or sensitive. Here's the truth. Toxic relationships don't always start toxic. They drip poison slowly, one red flag at a time, until one day you're drained, confused, and not even sure who you are anymore. This video isn't to scare you, it's to wake you up. Because if you catch these signs early, you can save your energy, your time, and your sanity. So let's get real. Here are 7 toxic relationship signs you should never ignore, even if you love them, even if they say they'll change, and even if it hurts. Sign number 1, constant criticism and put-downs. You ever notice how sometimes the things they say feel like little stabs? Not loud, not obvious, but they sting. It starts small. Maybe they joke about the way you talk, the way you dress, how you overthink everything. They laugh it off. Relax, I'm just kidding. But you don't laugh, because you feel it. And the truth is, it's not a joke. You start hearing things like, "You're so dramatic. You can't take a joke. You're too sensitive." And after a while, you begin to believe it. What's messed up is, they know exactly what they're doing. They'll praise you in public, but in private, it's a different story. You're never smart enough, never strong enough. They always find a way to make you feel less than. And here's what makes it truly toxic. It's not just about what they say, it's how consistently they say it. They chip away at you, quietly, repeatedly, until you're second-guessing every little thing. How you speak, how you laugh, even who you are. You stop expressing yourself freely. You shrink. Because you're afraid. What if I say something and they mock me again? You start editing yourself to avoid the pain, and you don't even realize you're doing it. But let me ask you this. How is that love? Because love doesn't tear you down. It lifts you up. Love reminds you of your worth. It doesn't bury it. If you constantly feel like you're not enough around someone, that's not your fault. That's a reflection of them, not you. And I don't care if they say, they love you. If their words are slowly destroying your confidence, then that's not love. That's emotional erosion. The longer you stay in that environment, the quieter your own voice becomes. Until one day, it's just gone. And all you hear is theirs. You deserve better. You deserve someone who sees you, encourages you, and reminds you of your power, not someone who makes you question it every damn day. Criticism doesn't build relationships, respect does. And if you're not getting that, maybe it's time to stop explaining yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. Sign number 2, controlling behavior. At first, it looks like care. They just want to know where you are, who you're with, when you'll be back. It feels sweet, like protection. But then it turns. Suddenly they're checking your phone, asking why you're texting certain people, why your friend posted that picture of you, why you wore that top. And somehow you start explaining yourself, like you owe them a report for just living. That's not love. That's control, dressed up like concern. They'll say, I just want to make sure you're safe. But what they really mean is, I want to know everything so I feel in control. And maybe you didn't notice it at first, because it didn't all happen at once. It crept in, slowly. They stop you from hanging out with that one friend. She's a bad influence. They raise an eyebrow when you wear something bold. You're just trying to get attention. They guilt-trip you for having a life outside of them. You'd rather spend time with your friends than me. And little by little, your world starts to shrink. You cancel plans. You mute parts of yourself. You become smaller to keep them comfortable. But here's the truth. A healthy partner doesn't need to control you. They trust you. They let you breathe. They want you to be free. Control isn't a sign of love. It's a sign of insecurity. Their need to monitor you comes from their own fears, not your actions. And here's what makes it so dangerous. Control never stays small. It grows. It tightens. Until you feel like you're suffocating in a relationship that's supposed to feel safe. If you're walking on a leash instead of side by side, that's not partnership. That's a prison. You were not made to be managed. You were made to be met, to be understood, and to be trusted. And if someone only feels secure when they've got you caged, that's not someone who's ready for love. That's someone trying to dominate it. You don't need to be controlled. You need to be respected. Sign number 3, walking on eggshells. It's not always yelling. It's not always threats. Sometimes the most toxic part of a relationship is silence. That heavy, suffocating tension where you don't know what'll set them off next. You find yourself rehearsing every conversation in your head, watching your tone, your words, your timing. You hesitate before speaking, not because you're unsure, but because you're afraid. Afraid of their reaction. Afraid of the look, the sarcasm, the mood swing. Afraid that one wrong word will flip the entire day upside down. That's what it feels like to walk on eggshells. You monitor their energy like weather. Are they in a good mood? Should I wait to bring this up? Can I be honest? Or will they blow up again? And maybe they don't hit you. Maybe they don't scream. But they punish you with cold shoulders, passive jabs, emotional withdrawal. You start avoiding certain topics, certain people, certain truths, because you've been trained to keep the peace at all costs. And the worst part? You start thinking it's normal, that relationships are just hard, that you're too sensitive again, that maybe if you just try harder, it'll get better. But here's the truth. A healthy relationship should never feel like a war zone. It should never leave you constantly bracing for impact. You should never feel like you have to shrink just to keep someone else calm. Because love, real love, feels safe. It invites openness. You can speak your mind without fear of punishment. You can be vulnerable without being attacked. But when you're walking on eggshells, you're not being loved. You're being managed. You're being trained to silence yourself. And that's not a relationship. That's emotional captivity. If you can't breathe around them, if you can't speak your truth without consequences, if your nervous system is always on high alert, that's your body warning. Because love doesn't feel like fear. Love doesn't require you to tiptoe. Love meets you where you are and says, you're safe here. And if that's not the feeling you have, then maybe you're not in love. Maybe you're just surviving. Sign number 4, gaslighting and manipulation. They'll make you feel crazy. That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't just distort the truth. It makes you question your own sanity. You bring something up. Hey, that thing you said last night really hurt me. And instead of owning it, they go, I never said that. Or worse, wow, you're so dramatic. Why do you always twist things? And now, suddenly you become the problem. They flip the script so fast, you start second-guessing your memory. Maybe I did overreact. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe it's all in my head. But it's not. You're not crazy. You're being manipulated. Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's a strategy. It's subtle. It's slow. It's surgical. It starts with small things, changing the timeline of a conversation, denying what was said. Then it turns into erasing your emotions, rewriting your reality. You say something's bothering you, they laugh it off. You bring up a pattern, they accuse you of making up stories. You start to feel lost in your own head, like nothing you feel is valid unless they approve it. And here's the scary part. Gaslighting doesn't just mess with your confidence, it messes with your sense of self. You begin to rely on them to tell you what's real. And once they have that power, they can twist anything to keep control. But listen, someone who loves you doesn't play with your mind. They don't make you feel small just to win an argument. They don't weaponize your emotions against you. Love is supposed to bring clarity, not confusion. Truth, not mental gymnastics. If every conversation leaves you doubting yourself, if you're constantly apologizing just to keep things calm, if they make you feel like your memories and emotions are unreliable, that's not love. That's manipulation. That's gaslighting. That's emotional abuse. And it's dangerous because it doesn't leave bruises. It leaves you questioning your worth, your sanity, your voice. But here's your reminder. You are not too sensitive. You are not crazy. You are not imagining things. You're being targeted by someone who's afraid of taking responsibility. And that is not your burden to carry. You deserve truth. You deserve clarity. You deserve a relationship that lifts you up, not breaks you down from the inside out. Sign number 5, love bombing, followed by withdrawal. It started like a dream, didn't it? They came in fast, texting nonstop, complimenting you like you were the only person on earth. Late night calls, deep talks, plans for the future. Even though you'd just met, it felt magical. You thought, finally, someone who sees me, someone who wants me. But here's the thing about love bombing. It's not real love. It's bait. See, healthy. Love grows with time, but toxic love rushes in with fireworks. Not because it's deep, but because it's strategic. They overwhelm your nervous system with affection so you let your guard down. They mirror your dreams, say all the right things, make you feel chosen. But the moment you start getting comfortable, the switch flips. Suddenly they're busy. They stop replying as fast. The compliments fade. You feel them pulling away. But you don't understand why. So you start chasing the version of them that first showed up. You wonder if you did something wrong. You start working harder, texting more, being extra sweet, ignoring red flags, just to get that rush. Again. That's exactly what they want. Because now, they've got control. You're hooked on the highs they created, and they know it. So they feed you just enough affection to keep you chasing, then disappear again. It's a cycle. Intense affection, followed by cold silence. Promises of forever, followed by disappearing acts. And every time they pull away, you blame yourself. But hear me. Love isn't supposed to be a roller coaster. Love doesn't confuse the hell out of you. Love doesn't disappear when things get real. Love shows up, consistently. Love bombing isn't a sign of deep connection. It's a sign of manipulation. It's about control, not care. It's about pulling you in fast before you can see the truth. Real love takes time. It grows. It doesn't rush to possess you. It respects you. It doesn't withdraw to punish you. It communicates with you. If someone made you feel like the center of their world one minute, then made you feel invisible the next, that's not passion. That's a trap. Don't chase the version of them that love bombed you. That version was never real. The person who's withdrawing now, that's who they really are. Sign number 6, they never take accountability. It's always your fault, isn't it? No matter what happens, they flip it around. You bring up something that hurt you, they say you're being too sensitive, they forget your birthday, somehow that becomes your mistake. You should have reminded me. You try to express your needs? Now you're too demanding, always complaining, or never satisfied. It's exhausting, because deep down, you're not trying to fight. You're just trying to feel heard, to feel like your feelings matter, to feel like someone actually gives a damn about how their actions affect you. But they don't. Because toxic people, they don't own their behavior. They defend it. They justify it. They blame you for even bringing it up. And when you finally stand your ground, they'll call you crazy, negative, or toxic, gaslighting and deflection become their shields. They'll rewrite the story so that they're the victim, always, and after enough of that, you start to believe it. You start apologizing for things that weren't your fault. You shrink yourself just to keep the peace. You question your right to feel hurt, because every time you speak up, it backfires. That's not love. That's emotional manipulation. Healthy relationships aren't about perfection. They're about accountability. People mess up. That's normal. But real love says, yeah, I hurt you. I didn't mean to, but I own that. I'll do better. Toxic love says, you're too sensitive. You're always overreacting. I wouldn't act this way if you weren't so difficult. See the difference? One brings healing, the other brings shame. So if you're with someone who never apologizes, who never says, I was wrong, who never meets you halfway, you're not in a partnership, you're in a blame game. And no matter what you do, you'll always be the one left carrying the guilt. Let that sink in. You don't need someone perfect. You need someone accountable. Someone who doesn't just say they love you, but shows it through growth, humility, and action. If they can't own their part, they don't deserve a place in your heart. Sign number 7, you feel drained, not happy. It's not always something they do. Sometimes it's just how you feel when you're around them. Drained, heavy, like your soul's carrying a weight it was never meant to hold. You can't quite explain it to anyone else, because on the outside, maybe things seem fine. But on the inside, you're tired all the time, emotionally, mentally, even physically. You used to laugh more, sleep better, wake up with purpose, but now it's like there's a dark cloud following you, and it only clears when they're not around. You. See, toxic relationships don't always start loud. They don't always hit you with obvious red flags. Sometimes they chip away at you silently. One missed call, one guilt trip, one selfish conversation at a time, and before you know it, you've stopped dreaming, you've stopped smiling, you've stopped being you. You make excuses for their behavior. You downplay your needs. You convince yourself every relationship has ups and downs. Maybe this is just one of them, but ask yourself this. Are you mostly surviving or truly living? Because love, real love, shouldn't feel like exhaustion. It should energize you, support you, lift you up, not tear you apart. If you walk away from every conversation feeling smaller, less confident, less joyful, more anxious, that's not love. That's emotional erosion. And maybe they're not yelling. Maybe they're not cheating. Maybe they're not hitting. But if being with them leaves you feeling depleted, that's just as dangerous. You weren't put on this earth to be someone's emotional punching bag, or their emotional dumpster, or their personal project to fix. Whenever they feel like showing up, you deserve peace. You deserve energy. You deserve joy, not just on the good days, but every day. If a relationship is costing you your happiness, your self-worth, your mental health, that price is too damn high. Sometimes the clearest sign of toxicity isn't what's happening in the relationship. It's how the relationship is changing you. If you feel like you've lost your spark, maybe it's time to step back, reclaim your energy, and remind yourself what life feels like when you're free.